All right. Next, Purdue. It's what the Big Ten's all about. No easy games. You see, I think we got a firsthand example of why Michigan State was picked #1 in the country preseason. I think we saw firsthand why Cassius Winston was picked as Player of the Year nationally. And when the ball doesn't go in, there's challenges, and you're not going to win. The game before, we made 11 threes, and we shot the ball extremely well in shoot around, and we had one of those nights. We were 17 of 35 in the paint, within 4 to 5 feet, and then obviously the 3-point shooting was not good, and you're not going to win any place, let alone against the best team in one of the best teams in the country. But bounce back. That's one of the great things about basketball, and it's one of the great things about the Big Ten is almost all of our teams are in the Ken Palm or the net in the top 40, and you get a chance to go do it again and grow. Unfortunately we suffered a tough loss at Maryland, a heartbreaker, and we turned around 3 nights later and beat Michigan. And that's what this league affords you is another opportunity to go do something great and move forward. It's about avoiding the highs and lows and staying on a level playing field, and that's the beauty of getting back into practice. The next day is these guys are pretty resilient. We get to go to practice and shake that off. So Purdue's very, very good. They're one of the top defensive teams, not only in our conference but in the country. Obviously, a team that has some new roles, losing Carson Edwards and Klein and some of the best players in that school's history. So a little more inside-oriented team. It's been interesting and fun to watch Matt Harms. Saw him in high school a lot, and to see his growth and development. A guy had 26 the other night. Now he's a junior, but obviously got some. He's got size at 7'3". Williams has become extremely effective, and then they're getting really, really good guard play, and Stefanovic is one of the elite shooters. I think if you ever want to do a video and teach a young kid how to shoot, you might want to pull him up. But yeah, we've got a great opportunity, a great challenge, and we'll have our hands full. That's for sure.
Brad, it felt like last season defending Harms at Purdue, it was a challenge. I mean, you didn't have a lot of size in the post. You do now. How much does that change things with 2 big guys down there who can kind of counter them?
Yeah, there are other guys had a little to do with that as well, the way we tried to guard them. We had, the year before when they had Haas inside and they were pretty big, we did a great job on Haas, and Carson got 40. That's a sign of a pretty good basketball team when you've got that kind of balance. And Harms has developed tremendously from the offensive side of it. He's a guy who's stepping out and shooting threes. His first year, it wasn't doing that. Now he's, I think, 6 of 16 on the year from the three. He's a guy that's a threat. He made some of those last year against us. But yeah, he's a very gifted player.
Allen said Thursday night that he feels like he's playing with more confidence. And how has that maybe elevated or changed his game, just when he's maybe mentally locked in like that?
Yeah, confidence is the most powerful tool we have, or skill. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a mental approach that allows you to do things that get you beyond your normal level. And the one thing Adam plays with a motor. I mean, when people want me to describe Allen, it's motor, motor, motor. I mean, he just plays so hard, and he's carefree. He's got great swagger, and that's, that confidence is coming from minutes, and it's coming from success on the court, and now he's finding out, hey, I can go get rebounds against anybody. I can make baskets against anybody, and I can be a productive guy. And with that, we'll see. And that kind of confidence, we're going to see his game continue to blossom.
Brad, how concerned are you, if at all, about offensive production from the 4 spot?
I mean, it's what do you deem production? Points?
I guess, yeah.
I mean, some nights you get them, some nights you don't. I think it's one of those things that, we'd like to be able to say that every night you're going to get 25 points from a certain spot. It's not necessarily that way. I think that, Georgie's been one of our top assist guys. He's been a guy that's been able to step out and make some threes. I think we've got to do a better job of finding ways to create post-up opportunities for him. But Kipper's a guy that's shown he can do some things offensively. So it's not something I worry about. Every game there's a schematic part to a game that you have to adjust to or handle a little differently, and we'll adjust accordingly.
Brad, what do you see when you look at Purdue and you specifically look at No-Gel Eastern? Because I think the term winning plays can become cliche-ish, but he seems to make a lot of them, if that's a term.
Well, I mean, you see a tremendous size and a highly superior athlete. I mean, if you want to measure guys for vertical jumps and speed and do all of that, I mean, you can go put him up against probably any athlete on their campus, and he's going to rank in that top, that top portion. I mean, there's some dunks from him early in the season in transition. I mean, he's just inside the free throw line leaving the dunk, and yet you look at his shooting numbers and you see some different holes, but elite hands, great quickness with his hands, great length, and he's a great competitor. And he's a guy that Payne has a lot of abilities with, capabilities with, in terms of being able to guard 1 through 4, and those guys are very rare.
Where do you think this team's mentality is at with the 3-point struggles, and do you approach it any differently in practice or preparation?
Just keep shooting them, man. I mean, we made 11 the night before. The game before. You have a night, and it's like walking through the line, and Tom says, he goes, "You just had our Duke game," And I look up at the 12-minute mark, and they're shooting 34%, and we're trying to withstand their run, and some nights the ball doesn't go in. I don't make too much out of it. Trent Frazier's a good shooter. He got good looks. I loved our looks. Io had 3 great looks that he makes, and so it's not something that we just keep shooting balls and practicing them, and guys got to step up and make them.
After watching the film, is there anything that stood out with Kofi, and anything that he needs to change or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the one thing we've talked with Kof about is using his frame, using his body, and I mean hitting people, and I'm not saying pushing and shoving. There's a way you get into people's legs, and it was, for whatever reason, was a game he didn't do that. He had been doing that at a much better rate, and he's got to be consistent with, when you play. Bingham, for example, has tremendous length, and yet Kofi's got some physicality on him. If you don't hit him, you negate that. I mean, you don't negate that. Excuse me. There's no sense being 290 pounds if you're not going to go hit him. And that was one of the biggest things. And then I thought he got a little bit rushed, offensively. But again, he's a freshman. He's 13 games into his his career, and you know, he still had 9 rebounds in 19 minutes or whatever he played.
Allen maybe came in with the label as a shooter, but how important has maybe his growth been with, you know, ball in hand, attacking the basket?
Well, I think the one thing that he's grown in that area. You know, I think Allen's always been a guy that was we knew he was a rebounder. I think he had 18 rebounds or 19 rebounds in the state championship game. We knew he was capable of doing that. I think everybody knew he was a good shooter. And it's still something he's got to continually work with and grow. But his confidence, again, as you mentioned earlier, his confidence has allowed him to do that. Something he hasn't had to do as much here. But now he's got the confidence to do it. He did it in high school, and he's staying in his lane. Last year he tried doing it a little bit too much, and it was almost awkward like. Now he's just playing, and it's at the right times and it's at the right moments, and that comes from confidence.
How unique are his rebounding instincts? I mean, he's not the tallest guy, but it seems like you look up and
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. I've been around a few. Jeffrey Carroll at Oklahoma State was a guy that averaged, 7 from the wing spot, was an elite rebounder at that spot, and the hard part is just getting him to go. Well, with him, it's he goes, and it was the same thing with Jeff. They just went, and they had a nose for it. They tracked it down, and I mean, he made a play from the opposite corner in front of their bench at Michigan State, and got the ball outside the paint in front of their bench, and I thought Tom was going to throw his shoulder out on that play, but it's just tremendous effort, and it's a tremendous motor. It's a gift. We demand that they go, but it's a gift what he does.
Apologize, Brad. I think you've been asked this before, but did the new line this year change anything you guys did? And it seems like percentages are down all across the country. And did it affect how you guys approach what you guys do offensively?
I don't think it's affected the approach. Our personnel's probably had more to do with our approach, but as we've seen the line and the lack of progress, I guess, or progress throughout the course of a season, I think it's fair to say you're probably seeing a player and a half maybe be covered differently on the defensive end. Those guys who were 31, 32% last year who you paid attention to are now down, in the mid-20s. And you're probably, okay, go ahead and get those off. And then there's that guy that's been 35 or 36, it's down to 31 or 32, and you're paying attention, but you're, okay. Those are the guys that are the marginal guys that probably aren't shooting it as well, and I think it's affecting the way teams play defensively, there's no doubt, and that's what the line was meant to do. And we'll grow into that distance. Everybody talks about that 1.5 feet or whatever. It's a big difference for some guys, and over the course of time we'll grow into it. But there's no doubt it's having some effect.
Any update on Ben's status?
Still out with a foot. He's got a little soreness in it, and they've just put him in a boot to help that healing process and stop any further damage being done. So he's not practicing, but he will not play tomorrow.
Was that the same injury he had over the summer?
No. Other leg, different part of his body.
With Allen, there's some tone-setting qualities that what he's bringing in his role. I think you told us before you don't care about starting lineups, but do you consider that at all with what he brings and how he kind of sets the tone when he's on the floor?
I like what he does on the bench. I mean, shoot, he's up there dapping everybody up. He is a very active talker and communicator. I love what he's bringing because it's a tremendous energy. You're bringing a high motor guy off the bench who's also capable of making a lot of shots and making baskets, and that's the productivity that I'm really excited about. You bring him with Dre, Kip, Tev. You bring those guys off the bench, and we're starting to feel like we're getting some productivity on the offensive end and the glass as well.